Introduce yourself to the world
My name is Jeanette Hernandez.
and tell the world why you're here.
I'm here to tell the story of my daughter, Vashti Viviany Hernandez.
And why is her story so important?
Because she saved my life.
And how did she save your life?
She took over a hidden uterus infection that was hiding, that no doctor had ever found and no blood tests have ever given results of.
So, tell the world how you felt when you first found out that you were pregnant.
Initially, I didn't have any feelings. I wanted to confirm. First and foremost, after I took the test at home and I met with my physician and we did the blood test to confirm. Took me at least almost 2.5 months to be able to finally start to somewhat enjoy the idea of being pregnant after 18 years.
After you got confirmation, what was your first initial emotion?
Scared that I had let down my son.
Why so?
Because I have certain beliefs that would not be conducive to the way that I was raising my son. And always taught him to be better than me. And after 18 years, for me to not have fulfilled one of those teachings, one of those beliefs, one of those faiths, was kind of like a slap in the face.
So, even in the instance of belief, how much of a blessing do you think this pregnancy was to you?
More than I can ever repay.
And her blessing to you was, I want to make sure that I ask the question right too. Her blessing to you was a renewed sense of purpose.
More than just purpose, self-worth, self-esteem, just mostly self-worth more than anything.
Tell us about the first 2 months.
Well, I found out that I was pregnant in November. I conceived in September. And it was a lot of stress. Because I had to share this information with not only my son, but my mother and my father. I went to my pastor first. She has been a huge pedestal in me being able to get myself somehow or another grounded again. She's a sharpshooter. She's straightforward, and I deal better with facts than what I do with sugarcoating. So her honesty and her non-judgmental ways of being there for me were very forthcoming, very necessary, very needed. On top of the fact that she was also she is the person who I had asked to be my daughter's godmother.
And how important was it for your parents to have knowledge of this information?
It was necessary. I don't live with them, but we are not exactly, I wouldn't exactly say a very close-knit family, but we're close enough. We go to the same church, which was another reason why I needed to let them know. And as a responsible adult, I needed to inform them that I was pregnant.
So, tell us about the third month. How did you feel?
I guess once I was able to share with my parents and my son, a breakthrough for me was, as far as the stress was concerned, was hearing my son's reaction. He doesn't have any siblings, 18 years old, and it was a reassurance that everything was going to be okay and that I hadn't actually let him down. I didn't really choose to decide what his answer would be. It was more of a fear that he would have been disappointed in me as his mother.
So, was his reaction one of joy or one of sorrow?
He was happy. That is what he showed me. That's what I felt around him. That he was, I wouldn't say content, but that he was happy. And we would have small talk about the baby and him being a really great brother and him being able to show her how to do things and being able to take her under his wing. And at the age that he is, that he would be able to give her a really good example of how to be.
So he was excited that he was going to have a little sister.
He was excited that he was going to be a brother, whichever way it was, because we didn't know what her gender was. There was supposed to be a reveal party, and the reveal was enveloped, concealed, and handed to my pastor, my daughter's godmother, right after I had gotten the gender information from the ultrasound. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know I didn't know that she was a girl.
So after you found out it was going to be a girl, how did you feel?
Confirmation on the sensation that I kept feeling, the reasons for me being able to remember her name so much more quicker than the boy's name that I had picked out. The information that I researched on her was confirmation that would have been a perfect name for her. And just it was just that intuition that gave me that confirmation, especially on her name.
Tell us about the name.
Vashti is the name of the queen that came into place before Queen Esther in the Bible. Vashti was of Persian royalty before she was married. Her name stands for beautiful and lovely. And she's kind of been dismissed biblically and amongst people in general for her moral behavior at the feast of her king when they called for her, saying that she was being disobedient. But when I checked the history on her, because of the uniqueness of her name and the fact that I had never heard anybody with it, and I like the way it's spelled, which is Vashit, or Ti, I'm sorry. She stood for a purpose. She gave herself her worth. She sent the message to the king that she would not show up to the feast because she would not allow herself to walk in amongst all of the drunken people that were there to lust over her naked body. And because she was first and foremost Persian royalty, she was already raised with a standard, and she knew what that standard meant to her. So she was more than willing to lose a crown versus her own self-worth.
So now, tell us about your first health issues during your pregnancy.
I was at work on the 23rd. The Saturday, that was a Tuesday, the Saturday before, I guess it would have been the 20th or the 19th, I would wake up in the middle of the night to use the restroom and would find that my garments were drenched a little bit. I didn't really think anything of it. There hadn't been much that I had experienced during my first pregnancy. My first pregnancy went by like a whim with no problems at all, no symptoms of any kind whatsoever, just growing. So I didn't really think anything of it because they say that each pregnancy is different. I hadn't been pregnant for 18 years. And I had never taken anything to prevent myself from getting pregnant. So at seeing that, I checked it. It wasn't that I had urinated on myself. There was no scent to the liquid that was coming out of me. That happened at about maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. The very next day it was the same thing. Friday, Saturday, even Sunday. Monday, almost nothing. Barely anything. So again, I thought it was nothing. But I had been having some pressure in my lower abdomen. And I started thinking to myself, you know, am I sitting wrong? Am I making her uncomfortable or the baby uncomfortable? And I had even expressed to my mom at one point that I caught myself trying to lean back all the time so that my stomach wouldn't, in my consciousness somehow, feel like I was squeezing her, crushing her, just making her uncomfortable because I was more heavy set than before. So I just felt that where she was at inside me was uncomfortable for her. But then Tuesday came, went to work. I started having pressure again. And more frequently than before, I had been using the restroom. So I guess, you know, she was probably just resting on my bladder. But I got up and I went to the restroom. And there I was drenched again. My garments were soaked. And I went to my superiors at work and I told them what was going on, and I was excused after calling and confirming with my mom and then calling the doctor's office that I needed to go to baby and delivery department in the hospital, which I questioned. Why not just the doctor's office? And then that's when they reassured me that even if it's nothing, that it would always be that kind of location that I would meet with to be checked for a quick checkup. It wasn't an appointment. I left work, picked up my mom, drove down to the hospital, not really thinking anything, just, maybe my weight, maybe I gotta get put on bed rest, maybe The baby's already getting huge. Because my son was 9 pounds 3 ounces, 22 inches long. And they had an emergency ultrasound even before the month that he was due, just in case he wasn't exceeding 9 pounds. They thought he would be a 10-pound baby. So when I got to the hospital and they started checking me, the first thing that startled me was the fact that they said I was 2 to 3 centimeters already open, already dilated.
And how far along were you at the time when you found this out?
Tuesday, 23rd of January, I was exactly 20 weeks and 5 days.
Believe in Miracles, Part 2, Scene 2, and action. Introduce yourself to the world again.
My name is Jeanette Hernandez.
And tell the world why you're here again.
I'm here to tell the story of my daughter, Vashti Viviany Hernandez.
Now, tell us about the instance of the 3rd to 4th month, and tell us how you were feeling about everything.
It started to grow gradually, the feeling of being able to start appreciating the new chance of motherhood. Started to talk to her, play music for her, sing to her. Just the excitement of, oh my God, I'm gonna have this chance again. My baby bump is gonna start growing. My son is gonna have someone to look up to him. He's gonna have his own sibling, someone he can call his own little sister or little brother. Just a chance to start over again in the motherhood.
How important is motherhood to you?
It's kind of hard to put into words. Not having had an opportunity to even idealize the fact that I would have had a chance to even become pregnant again, because I wasn't trying. It wasn't something that was being tried. It was something that just happened. And after 18 years of wanting to be able to have another child, not something that I passionate over, it's just the thought. It would be nice to have another child. My son is getting older. By the time he was 13 and 14, I'm thinking it's been so long since I could even the idea of him having a sibling of his own. Not knowing if he had any other siblings became even harder. I wanted him to be able to identify himself with someone the way that I did when I grew up. Because even though it's 5 of us within our siblings, I always had that one that I could look up to. I always had that one that I was pretty much the shadow of. And I learned some of the better things of him, and I knew that that would be something nice for my son, and just started to lose my self-value, the thought of not having been a good enough mother. Like, this is probably God's way of telling me that you didn't do so much of a good job with your first kid. I'm not gonna let you have another one. And I just threw it in the back of my head. I try not to think about it so much until several months before I even got pregnant.
So do you feel that this was a reminder of some sorts in regards to you being a good mother, or you being a good person, or what is your take on that?
At least worthy is how I can sum it up. Just the simple fact that I was allowed to carry, the blessing of being able to carry a child. I have friends and family who have not been able to have children, and I felt greedy for a moment, as if though, how dare I be able to carry a child when they are so deserving themselves of having a child, and they're good people and I've known them for a long time. And it was just very overbearing, the different thoughts that came into my head about the whole situation.
So with that being said, considering the fact that you are a great person, considering the fact that you are a great mother, considering the fact that throughout all of your ups and downs that I know of as your friend, this is more so I guess I could term it a reminder, if you will. I can term it a reminder of, even though that, yes, this is a different thing to experience from my point of view, but I will make sure that the world knows that just because something like this happens does not mean that you aren't a good person. Does not mean that you aren't capable. You know, these are the types of reminders that, yes, we don't expect them, but they come into play for a reason. So, with that part being said, take us into your first visit to the hospital within that third and fourth month. Or, better yet, let me ask this properly. When was your first hospital visit in regards to the pregnancy after you found out?
The week right after, exactly the very day of that next week.
Okay.
I think that was Wednesday. It's Wednesday of the very next week.
Okay. And tell us what happened.
The gentleman that handles the chaplain is who he is, the chaplain of the hospital. We had met with him several days prior. We met with him while I was recuperating with the antibiotics in the hospital, and spoke with us and filled out paperwork, and got there, went up the elevator, started walking through the hallways.
Take your time.
My mom, pastor, sister-in-law, and son were there with me. And it probably one of the longest walks I've ever had in my life to get somewhere in such a short distance. And they had placed her very carefully inside of a basket, a very pretty basket, in a room for ourselves in privacy. And she was wrapped up in a baby's blanket, and she had the little dress. It's kind of like a Snuggie, I guess, type of blanket. She was so small that it was too big on her. But we went there for visit. We went there because her mother-in-law, goodness, her godmother, my pastor, she hadn't met her yet. She was there at the hospital in Heart Memorial before I got transferred to Morton Hospital, which is where I had her the next day, on the 24th to be exact. And the room was slightly lit. So once everybody was in the room, the chaplain closed the door behind us, and I started to the first initial thought when I went to take her out, it was probably about this deep, and it kind of curved in. So when I went to try to get her, I had to somehow move my arms around. I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to pick her up in such a way that would do any harm to her body. I got her out finally. I don't even know how long it took me. It felt like forever to finally get her out. I placed her on the bed, and I started to gradually unfold the blanket because I couldn't really tell how they had positioned the blanket on her. I could tell where she was at. I could tell where her head was. I could tell where her bottom was because I could feel the distribution of her weight. Hold of the preservation that they had done for her to take care of her while she was there coming through the blanket. And I just kept saying she's gonna be fine. Her color's gonna still be the same. And she was. When I finally got done opening up her blanket, the only thing that had changed on her physically was the fact that babies come out swollen because they're in the amniotic fluid so long. So she was in not her skin, but the layer before her skin, but she was good. Her color was the same as I seen it when she was born. So she had some wrinkles, but she was just intact. She had all her toes, all her fingers, full eyebrows, complete eyebrows. And you can see her features and her nose, her lips, everything was just perfectly shaped out. And she looks just like my son. And I told him, even before that day, I said, the same way I had asked God to design you is the same way that I was asking for her. That if she were to look like me, I wanted her to be a lot taller, with a healthy physical shape, but taller. And that if she were to look like anyone else, that it would be her brother. She looked exactly like him. She has the silhouette, the shape of his nose, her big eyes. He's got big eyes. I don't doubt that she would have had the long eyelashes. They just hadn't come in yet, though. But I spoke to her a little bit. I apologized to her again
Why?
because it was my fault that she had gone through that. She didn't deserve to go through that.
So now, take us through what occurred after you found out from the doctor that it was a life or death situation for the both of you.
My reply to her was basically, you want me to give you an answer and I don't have an answer? I can't just sit here and say yes. I have no choice. So do what has to be done. That was with the doctor at Hardin Memorial. Because she's the one that had to initiate for the transfer to take place. She's the one that had to initiate for the continuation of whatever went on by the time I went on to Morton's, because they are the ones that can handle what I was dealing with. When I got there, I was adamant about it. I said, keep checking because she might still be okay. The second ultrasound showed that there was 11% amniotic fluid left. But on the very last one, they showed that there was probably nothing. By that point, I couldn't even hear her heartbeat anymore in the ultrasound. And when I asked the lady that was doing the test, I asked her how much fluid was left. She didn't even address me. She looked right past me and she went on speaking to the other nurse that was there.
What did that mean to you?
I wanted her to answer me. So I'm the one that's there. I asked the question. I expected her to at least tell me what she found, what she sees. And when I tried looking over, they had the screen too far up for me to be able to look over. And the ultrasound tech, she left the room. During all this time, there was moments where my mom would speak to me, or conversations in between. I don't remember so much. When they came and gave me what I believe is the Pitocin.
What is Pitocin?
To induce the labor.
Uh-huh.
I was already having contractions. The pain and the pressure that I was feeling days prior were contractions. I never felt contractions with my son's pregnancy. All I felt was the pressure. All the pressure, no pain, just constant pressure. They had given me an IV pain medicine, and it's the one that they're allowed to give during labor because it's a mild. It's not like the epidural where they place it out the back into the spine. it's more mild, it'll give a really good effect, but it won't last long enough to fulfill the pregnancy, of course, depending, not the pregnancy, but the delivery process. After a while, it would wear off, and I kept holding the whole time. Even after they gave me the medicine, I kept trying to keep my body tight, and I started to get upset because after they gave me the medicine, the only thing that I could actually hear was my son saying, I wonder how she's going to behave under the medication, because it was making me very drowsy, and I eventually fell asleep. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to go to sleep.
Because you knew what was going to happen.
Because more fluid was going to come out. And I wanted to just try to keep any possibility, a couple more days, a couple more weeks, and she'd be okay to be born. And I just kept getting reminded, she's not going to have quality of life. She's not going to be able to make it. And I just kept thinking to myself, y'all are doctors, God has the last word. Whatever he says is what's going to happen. But then I knocked out. I don't remember how long I was asleep. I never asked. I just know that I woke up and the pains had started to come back, and this time there was full-blown contractions. One of my family members that was there decided that they wanted to leave. I'm not going to say who it was. Why? Why are you leaving? Never got an answer again. Right before she came, about maybe 15 minutes or so, the contractions were constant. I don't know how much time in between. All I know is that I was going through it. They were painful. They were not the kind of contractions that I would want to have, knowing that this is what's going to cause her to come out. I was completely covered. The blankets were completely over my legs. My mom was there. My son was there. My dad was there. I was completely covered. And when they were getting ready to get a second dose of the pain medication to relieve the pain from the contractions, she came out. And it was as if though the blankets were not even there. I could see her. It was like those glass windows in the precincts of the police stations whenever they're questioning people. It's dark on one side and you can see clear through on the other. I saw everything. I saw her body when she came out, and she was supposed to be breached. That was the one thing that the ultrasound tech had said. But when she came out head first. And I knew, I believed that deep down inside that God allowed her to turn. That pain that I felt wasn't probably even the contraction. It was probably him turning, because I asked her. I don't want nobody touching her. Are they gonna have to turn her? Nobody had to touch her. She came out by herself on the last contraction because I couldn't hold the pain anymore, and I felt her head when she came out. And I saw everything. I could see her little body. I could see the umbilical cord. I could see the placenta come out after her. I saw everything. And I was completely covered. And I told my mom, I said, get the nurse, she's here. The baby came out. It was so cold that day. I didn't even think the balloons were gonna go up. I didn't want flowers. Flowers die. It had snowed the day before really hard. I don't even remember what color the ground was. I parked a little bit further up from where I'm at right now. A lot of people showed up. People that I didn't even know were coming had shown up. And I hadn't even had the idea. I mean, at first, my mom, I think, had asked me to ask Brandon if he wanted to be the pallbearer. I didn't even know how to ask him. And I honestly don't even remember if I even mentioned it to him. I might have. All I know is that by the time I got through the crowd of people that were here, and it was probably at least 25, 30 people, more than I would have expected. I thought it was going to be a real small group of people. I was in a hurry because I wanted to see who had grabbed her. And then Vivian and Shantae gave me the flowers that, little, real small, real petite, very simple flower set as the only flowers that I wanted. Just that with little butterflies on them to go over her casket. I didn't want anybody else showing up with flowers. That's why I was scared the balloons wouldn't go up because of how cold it was outside. By the time I started to walk over, that's when I had seen that Brandon had placed her. On the little green bench that they have for her. And all I can see was the planks of wood with the green the green fake grass that they used to cover up the ground when it first come around. The only thing I kept thinking was, I don't want to throw any dirt on her. I don't want to pick up ground from the dirt like people do at burial grounds, and I've seen that so many times. I don't see the purpose in it. I didn't like the idea. A few things happened while I was there. It's like I could hear everything. I could hear whatever wind went by. I could hear whatever car went by. I can hear whatever whisper or sound people made. I can hear the difference between the people that came up to me choosingly and the ones that had to be walked over to me. It was her day, not mine, her day. June 8th, 2018 is the day that was scheduled for her delivery. That's supposed to be her birthday. And here I was, February 5th. The man that did the eulogy, he was really nice. He's a pastor from Louisville, friends of the family, and he was really, really, really nice with everything that he spoke and everything that he said. But I started to say no. He didn't hear me. I didn't want to put dirt on her little flowers. I was so mad. They got dirty. I didn't want them to get dirty. The only things that I had for her. Her little box was ivory white. The day I had to go pick it out, I even felt inside of it. I wanted to see how comfortable it would be for her little body. And they assured me that it would be sealed tight, so there would be no air coming in, nothing getting in. And I know she's not there. But there's no way that I can separate the feeling of the fact that she's not there, because I know that her body is there. I had to hide behind Brandon when I saw the guy coming to start putting the dirt to lower her casket down into the ground. I couldn't watch. To think that I was supposed to be the one to give her life and took it from her.
But it wasn't your fault.
Had I not gotten pregnant with her, she would not have gone through that. She would have had to suffer. She would have had to take over an infection that the doctors didn't even know I had. I don't want to take away from her what she's done for my life. But I refuse to accept the fact that it's my fault I refuse to accept the fact that she had to suffer for that. She should not have had to suffer for that. She should not have had to die for that. I'm the one that put her there. No matter how many angles, no matter how many ways I try to look at it, I'm the one that put her there. I'm here and she's gone. And I'm not, I don't hate myself in a way that I wish I wasn't. I'm just mad at myself that she had to endure what cost her her life.
So, even though it wasn't her fault, and it wasn't your fault either, you feel responsible for that.
I am responsible for it. Granted, I don't have any control over what the doctors can't even see.
True.
How was I to know that I had a hidden uterus infection? But had I not gotten pregnant, she wouldn't have gone through it. I would have been the one to deal with it on my own. It would have just been for me to deal with. I wouldn't have lost a child. My son wouldn't have lost her sibling. My mother wouldn't have lost her grandchild. I don't know. It's going to have to be something that God's going to have to help me with because I can't see it any other way. I can't. I don't. I've tried to look around it and I can't find a way to get around it. God's going to have to be the one to deal with me on that because
But is that fair to say?
it's what fair.
Is that fair to say that he should be the one to deal with you, considering the fact that you didn't know about the infection?
And deal with me as far as helping me get over it.
Yeah.
He knows everything before we know it. He knows how I'm supposed to be feeling tomorrow. He knows how I'm gonna behave tomorrow. He knows everything. I don't put nothing past him. It's just the fact that since I don't know, I don't know. I mean, I'm supposed to be able to give him my burdens and give him my worries and give him my sorrows. But this isn't something I could just pick up and take away. It doesn't work like that. I'll go through my day trying to not even purposely think about this day. And just out of nowhere, I just start crying. Out of nowhere. For nothing. And it all brings me right back to her. Like, hello, I'm still here. And I don't want to ever, ever, ever lack her acknowledgement. I never want to treat her like she's not a person that was here at one point in time.
I agree.
I refuse to treat people like they don't exist unless they've given me a reason for it. And she's never given me a reason for that. And even the people that cause me to make me feel like I need to ignore them at some point or another, they're in my thoughts. At some point or another, I'm reaching out to them. It just never ends. The only way communication stops is when the other person doesn't acknowledge. And she didn't stop kicking until the last 30 minutes. And she was so there. Oh, she was so there.
How, when you first saw her after she came out, how did she look?
Complete. She was complete. The only thing that hadn't grown on her was the full covering of her last layer of skin and her little hair follicles, but she had full eyebrows. Her eyebrows were so complete and arched, and she had better eyebrows than me. Looking just like Brandon. Looks just like her brother. His eyebrows, his big eyes, the length of his nose, her lips, her strong cheekbones, her strong jaw. And she was going to be tall. Just like I said, if she was going to be built like me, I wanted her to be healthier body with a taller length. She was only 20 weeks, and on her 6th day, she weighed exactly a pound, 3 ounces, and she was 10 inches long. And she has big feet and big hands for her size and her age, and she's going to be a big girl. I wanted her to be taller than me, just like Brandon, taller and stronger, and I wanted to be able to instill in her all the values that I lacked in, for her to be able to actually reach the purpose of her name. It's like her middle name is my pastor's name, is Vivian, but I put Ani at the end of it, so it was Viviany, and her name stands for full of life. I won't be able to get to see that. I won't be able to get to see her talk and crawl and babble and make sounds and know her talents and know her gifts and know what she's capable of and what she might lack in to help her through it. But I told her on that day, I told her that I was so proud of her because she saved my life. Something that I could never repay. Something I could never repay. If I could have exchanged something with her to make her feel better, or they're little, they don't have a way to tell anybody that they're hurting. They don't have a way to say, no, don't do that. They don't have a way to speak for themselves. That's the only comfort I got on that day. The fact that she couldn't even take her first breath when she came out. That she wasn't gonna feel the condition that she was in. There was no reconnecting. There was no that first look. When you get an infection, you get feverish, you get tired, lazy, sick, hurting all over. I can only imagine kind of like the flu, or maybe where you're just drained. I was drained. I had no energy. And that's another reason why I just... Who's to say that... Who's to say that she didn't have any pain? She took over the infection. By the time I got into the hospital room and they transferred me from the ambulance bed chair to the operating table, the fluid that was coming out of my body has such a terrible smell in it. I was going septic. It was turning septic, the infection that was coming out. And she was embodied with that. And so my mom, because they had brought me in the ambulance and nobody was able to ride with me, so they had to come back. They went to the house. The only time that I was by myself, she wasn't even there yet. But the only time that I was by myself, they had stopped at the house to grab a change of clothes. Okay, my mom had a feeling she was going to have to be there overnight, especially because of the antibiotics. The doctor had already said that they would have to put a whole bunch of antibiotics in me. It took almost 2-3 days. I told her, I was like, you're gonna need to bring something with you, because you're not gonna handle the smell that's in here. And when she came in, when she finally made it back in, she didn't think it smelled, and I told her, I said, as soon as the blanket comes up, you will. It was not good.
So by the time she came in, had you already given birth or not?
No.
So it was just...
Several hours had passed before I gave birth.
So this was just the instance of the fluid that gave off the smell.
That's when I knew for sure that the infection had gone. I guess not that I had known for sure, but I could tell that that was the infection coming out. I could smell the infection.
And so that the world has an understanding, and just in case if someone else has gone through this, this was undetected uterus infection.
It was undetected. I've had all my pap smears. I've had blood drawn. I've had so many checkups. And just because of my age, the fact that I'm 38, they even did a special test in Louisville to make sure that she would not have any possible signs of Down syndrome, that there were no risks or possibilities of her coming out with any sicknesses or any ailments, anything that would take away her quality of life. I went to a specialist. Nothing saw that. Nothing Nothing could foresee the infection that was hidden. Nothing could see it. Nobody could see it. And I got the letter in the mail letting me know that she was like 99.8 or 0.9% healthy. And it just started to deteriorate my white blood count. By the time I made it to Norton, I was already another point up in my white blood count. It's supposed to be at about, it's a much more larger number than 5. But how they explain it to me is that it was at 5 and it jumped all the way up to 20. By the time I made it to Norton Hospital, it was already at 21.
So, what does the heightened white blood count means?
I guess it meant that I would have not been able to fight off whatever the poison was inside of the infection. And it would have eventually killed me. It could have killed me and nobody would have known why. There was no sexually transmitted disease. There was no HIV, and I'm grateful for that. Because I make sure that I'm healthy. I check myself. I get tested. But it was just one of those things where I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it was. It has a name to it. I don't even know how to say it. I had to leave out of there empty-handed. This is all I have of her.
So, my next question would be, had you not known that by being pregnant, you had this particular infection, eventually something would have happened to you.
Yep.
So that, in a sense, is the miracle of all of this.
She's my hero. She was sent here to save my life, and still in awe. However it was that God intended, had I not gotten pregnant in the first place, she would not have had to have endured what she did. No matter what, it's still, that's why I say it's my fault.
But considering the fact that it took for this to happen, for you to know, then essentially it's not your fault. If you really look at it.
It's never going to change that thought. You can put it in pretty colors and it's not going to change the thought. My actions got me pregnant. My actions getting pregnant caused her to lose her life. The infection is no one's fault. The infection was just there. It's like a bacteria. People develop bacteria in their body. You have healthy ones and you have unhealthy ones, and that's why you take probiotics and antibiotics, and
eat healthy foods that have all these antibodies that are supposed to help you get healthier and fight off infections, because that's the whole point of eating healthy, to have whatever it is that needs to help fight off in your body get fought off. But for whatever reason, and like I said, I don't even know how to pronounce the name of it. It's got a very long name.
The name of what you
The
had?
infection.
The
Yeah.
infection. Okay.
I might have it actually. I don't know. I might have it in her album. But I would rather, I don't know, I guess that's where my greedy side comes out. I would rather have her had survived. She probably wouldn't have much of a quality of life, but I would still have her here, if that's fair to say.
In your heart of hearts, considering everything that had occurred, would you think that that would be the better choice of life for her?
I don't know. I didn't even get that option. That option wasn't there. My body was doing its own thing. My heart and my mind were asking it to do something different. It kept going. It kept rejecting her. Thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. I had my son. He was born in March. Went through the whole winter in Chicago with him being pregnant, pushing cars, knocking down brick walls with sledgehammers. First seat on the roller coasters at Great America. I did so much while I was pregnant. I was pushing vehicles. And he just hung in there like, this is cool. This is comfortable. This is, this is it right here. Mommy's comfortable. I'm not going nowhere. I was due on the 15th and he didn't come out until the 20th. He didn't want to come out. They had to induce my labor. They had to force him out. And here it is, my body just kicks her out like, you have no place. Like, how dare you? How dare I? How dare my body? We only have so much control. No, I mean, nobody's exempt of anything bad ever happening to them. I am so 100% understanding of that. I am. But at the fact that I chose my actions over not having done them at all would have saved her this whole trip. It would have saved her whole trip. She wouldn't have had to have come down here. She wouldn't have had to have taken whatever pain she may have gone through if she went through. And that's that. I just hope to God that she didn't go through any pain. There's no way to know it. There's no way to console her. There's no way to hug her if she's hurting. There's no way to stop her pain. I'll drive past here so much. And I kept telling her I would drive past and I would tell her, I'm going to come and see you soon. Mommy's going to come and see you soon, baby. So stupid.
So going forward, outside of her saving your life, what has all of this taught you?
She's a deep-rooted reminder of my self-worth. She's a reminder for me to keep pushing for all that better stuff that I was trying to be and make it happen. Everything. I still go to sleep at night sometimes, and I still hold my belly the way I did when I was pregnant with her still. And sometimes even if it's just my own heartbeat, my own pulse that I can feel, it feels like her. I'm not me. I'm not myself. I'm not the person that I was even before I gave up on myself to end up like that. So I'm just here going through each day, trying to do what I need to do so that someday she can actually say, all right, you redeemed yourself. So she can be the one to tell me that she's proud of me.
So now, in closing, what would you like to share with the world?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
Rephrase that question for me.
What would you like for the world to know about this particular time in your life going forward?
Don't take yourself for granted. I gave up on myself. Don't give up on yourself. I mean, I'm going through it now, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to be going through it. I'm dealing with PTSD because of this, but I won't stop living. I won't stop getting up every day and trying to do the things that I need to do. Even if I have my moments where I'm just driving down the street and I bust out crying because something reminded me of her, or I had a flashback, or I just keep going. With the infection And the definition that I found on it and the way that the doctor explained it to me, there could have maybe possibly somehow been a way for her not to have gone through this had I gone to the doctor sooner. I hadn't had a baby in 18 years. I thought that the fluid coming out of me was normal. Don't take it upon yourself to just assume. Just go. It's not about it wasn't about me, it was about her. So it wouldn't be about you, it would be about the child. Get up and go to the doctor. The sooner the better. Even if they see your face over and over again. Even if you feel like you're bothering somebody. Get up and take care of the baby. Make sure that you're okay so that the baby's okay.